Hi, crafty friends. I'm Tina, the creative guru with Gems, Paper, Scissors. And today we are installing week 5 into the album. And this is pretty typical, but I have a lot of moving parts in this particular layout. And I have a lot of things just hanging past where I'm intending to trim with all of my flap little tabs and stuff. And I could have installed these after, but I chose to install them before. The extra overhangs and having so many flip-flops to trim for, this is going to be a little bit more extensive than we've been doing. It's still not any harder, it's just more awareness. So I'm going to remove my post covers, and as you can also tell, my pages are starting to fan, meaning the open end is starting to raise higher than the posts. So to address that, I have some spine extenders. You just fold them over. I like having the open side to the outside of the binding because I'm going to cover that when I close up this album. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of those to the mix. Then we're going to turn this and slide in the layout, making sure all of my little odds and ends are nicely installed. And then we will grab my pokey stick and my ruler. We're going to mark this off. I'm going to use my take your pick tool. I usually like just kind of jabbing a little poke hole to mark where I want to cut to. And I just slide that in. And now you can see where those go. Now that I have those marked, I can slide in my cutting mat. Self-healing works really well for this. I'm just using the back side of a Cricut cutting mat for right now. And so I'm putting my straight edge down and connecting it to the dot to the dot. I'm going to use the craft knife on my take your pick tool and start at one poked in hole and running it along the edge of my ruler or my straight edge as smoothly as I can until I connect to the other dot. And I like to slide either my craft knife or my pokey tool through to make sure that because sometimes you don't press hard enough. So I just like to make sure it's all connected and smooth. Now comes the fiddly part. We're going to feed this on through, and we're going to jiggle it and fold it until my little tab has come through. Okay. Now I have all of this nicely installed, and I am going to shift this to the side and grab my next page protector and my next layout page, making sure to slide it in. This is going to turn this way so it'll still be lined up with my other layout. And slide that in. and do it all again. So it is really, really, really important to track. I know that this one is going to flip up and up. This one is to the side, and this one's to the side. It's really critically important with having so many moving parts to make sure to mark the correct folds. So here's the first one that I know has two flip ups or flip flaps that go up. So I've marked that with my pokey tool. I know this one is going to flip this way, and you can kind of see the flip flap folds. And I'm actually putting my pokey stick into that fold on the crease. It just helps reinforce where I'm going. And finally, although the tab makes it look like it's going up, it's actually going to the spine. Typically, I do not have my flip flaps turned towards the spine, but it is being captured by the other director. Okay. So we're going to slide in our cutting mat. And just remember, here's the first one. Grab my straight edge. Hook that in. Grab my craft knife. Line it up and go as smoothly along the edge as is reasonable. We're going to lift through, make sure it all connected. And then we are going to scooch this over. This is a flip towards the opening. Just like so. And again, nicely went through. And the final connection is this dot to dot. Smooth and straight. I'm going to cap off my craft knife so that it is now safe and set it to the side. Pull out my mat. Then we're going to start and just open and load these, right? But I'm going to do it a little bit in the opposite direction because I always try to feed these through from the bottom. And pull that tab through, do some wiggle and jiggle. So this will now flip flap. Work on the next one up. I'll set that down. Capture, I had trimmed. And I kind of try and tuck them a little bit behind just because it gives a little more smoothness, I feel like. And then here comes the hardest one. It has the largest little tab attached. So I'm going to try and feed most of that through first and then get the flip flap. Pull it up and then tuck it behind that flip flap. So now this is ready to insert. And again, because I want the one that goes towards the spine to stay closed, I'm going to entrap that. Then close this up and attach to my album, just like that. Reattach my post covers. And these are just really high quality, really easy to work with. There are some that are small little tiny screws that if you don't have a Phillips head, that they're impossible to install. They hurt your hands, they hurt your fingers, you need tweezers and all the small things because they're just not as user-friendly as this, which I don't quite understand because they're going to be hidden by the cover. Nobody's going to see them, so make them user-friendly. So let's raise this up And now, as you can see, it opens and flows very smooth and nice. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, keep on crafting and find your joy. Bye for now.